Our myth is whether or not we can score 2 consecutive points on Andy in the game of SocCourt while not starting on the serve. So what is SocCourt? Well, imagine the game of racquetball, except you're using your feet and you're using a volleyball.
So what are the rules? The ball can bounce twice before the return shot. This means 2 bounces and 1 return shot. 1 bounce, 1 juggle, and a return shot. 2 juggles and a return shot. The serve must hit the front wall and pass the short line. This means it cannot hit the back wall without a bounce. If the ball does hit the front wall and hits the back wall, you can catch it in the front half of the court before bouncing twice for a point. This is called the goalie rule, which is during play.
When did you start playing SocCourt?
I think we started playing SocCourt when someone who graduated 2 years ago was a junior, so I think it was 4 years ago.
Now, has anyone other than Life beat you in SocCourt or came close?
I think the answer is no. Probably the closest I've come is against Ted Zingman, the women's coach. I've played a total of, 5 summers last year, you two, both coaches, my brother, 2 old soccer players, 12, let's say 15 people, and I'm pretty sure Life's the only one who's ever beat me.
So are the lower shots, are those basically the most effective ones?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I played you guys, you just kick the ball 3, 4, 5 feet higher on the wall than I do every single time. And if you hit it that high on the wall, I've got all kinds of time to go get it. But if you hit it low, you have to be there, right? It's going to stay low. And what's interesting is the idea is exactly the same in racquetball. In fact, Art Getter, the math professor, is really good at racquetball. He was probably in the top 5 in the state for a long time. And I've played racquetball with him. He creams me every time. But he kept yelling at me. He's like, why are you hitting it? Why are you hitting it? And he said, you should never hit the racquetball if it's above your waist. He says, if it's above your waist, wait. Wait until it comes down, because if you hit it when it's already down, it'll stay down. Same idea in SocCourt. If somebody ever hits it with their head or tries to do some crazy thing, it's not going to work, or it's going to give the other player a lot of times. So hitting it low for sure.
Taking Andy's advice, we went out to practice and got a few pictures of what to do and what not to do. In these first 2 pictures, you can see that the ball is going way too high, which would make the return shot very easy. In these next 2 pictures, you can see that the ball is staying very low, which would make the return shot difficult. In the court, there's a small line that you can make out that if you keep it below that line, it makes it very hard to return.
As you can see in this clip, when the ball is kicked high, it is easy for Andy to return. This is because it gives him time to set up a good shot. The following diagrams demonstrate how it gives the opponent time to hit the ball.
Taking Andy's advice, hitting the ball low will keep it low, making Andy's shot difficult to return. This diagram is a representation of this.
While we were playing Andy, another problem that we had was that our serves were way too direct. For the most part, the ball was only hitting the front wall instead of hitting any of the side walls. This made it very easy for Andy to return almost all of our serves. Here is another example of how keeping the ball low when you hit it makes it hard to return. After the first challenge, it was evident that this myth would be hard to bust. We scored a point, but that was the first serve of the game. We decided to go interview Professor Leif to get some advice.
What kind of skills help you succeed in soccer?
You need to have decent control, so you need to be able to control a ball in one touch or so, and then being accurate and being able to strike it hard helps too, especially on a serve. I don't want to pump him up too much, but he doesn't have too many holes, so his strong leg is his left leg. So he has more accuracy with his left, so I tend to try to play him into the right corner just because he's less likely to hit a kill shot from over there. He can still pretty much get it back, but he's not as lethal if you have him on his right foot. Otherwise, I don't know, taking advantage of chances when you're close to the front wall to hit a really hard shot, you want to do that. And if you just knock it back easy, you can pretty much control anything that way. And then developing a strong serve, that's the key. Here's the thing. He's a physicist, right? So he knows all the angles. If he gets into a groove, then he can be pretty tough. So, or even if he can start to adjust to like a really good serve that you have. So usually a good way to keep him off balance anyway is to vary your serve. So if you can get a killer serve that's unreturnable, do that every time. But usually you want to kind of move around where you're serving from, and maybe mix in a soft one every now and then, so he can't just dial in the exact place to stand to return your serve. So that's one thing I would say.
With Leif's advice and more practice, we're ready for the final challenge.
¿Es el básico de Is that 3-point? I don't know what the score is. Is this game scored? I have no idea.
By the end of the last game, the seam in the ball actually broke, which made it shaped almost like football. As you can see, by developing a strong serve and keeping the ball low, we were able to bust Smith in both games.